you know, about some of the top matchups. So I'll start there. Just what matchup this weekend maybe you're excited for?
Oh, man. Let's see. I know I did my 6A blog. My computer just died. I saw that there is one. I believe you have the Newton Grayson coming up.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
That's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And I think Newton's playing very well right now, coming off a big win. Grayson, we've talked about how they don't look as dominant compared to the number twos with Wheeler recently, but I think that's probably just like the best rivalry game.
Yeah, I agree. And then obviously if you're Newton, right, we've seen this rivalry the past few seasons, even going back to 2023 when they had Stephon Castle. We've seen another really great player in Ted Neal's committed to App State. But like you said, can they be able to make enough plays? Marcus Smith, who I've highlighted in my article this past week, is one of the most underrated players in 2025, a really good athletic guard. Can they make the plays and upset Grayson?
Yeah, I mean, individually, I think that head-to-head's always a great rivalry. Anything can happen. Just Newton hasn't, the last 3 years, had Grayson's number as much. I think Grayson might have even gotten pushed around by Newton in that series for the last 5 years, but now they kind of own it. That'll be a big one. You also have a rematch with Walton Etowah coming up.
Yeah.
Got a lot in the 5A with your on the girls' side with your Pope. They're playing really well. Then in 4A, you got I think Kell's got some big ones coming up.
Yeah, I think they do. Obviously, great program with the Longhorns. Continue to see how they look. Obviously, in a crowded 4A bracket, when you look at Pace Academy, North Oconee, a lot of really good teams. Well, obviously, we'll talk to North Oconee before. Obviously, we do that, and we'll jump to our fast break, Craig. I do want to ask you about just North Oconee. What have you been most impressed with over the last few seasons with them?
Yeah, it's what we've been talking about should and could happen. I said probably 5 years ago, to me, they looked like the next Buford because, yeah, it's not the same facilities, maybe it's not the same transfers, but in terms of the support for athletics at their school and the fact that across every single different sport, boys and girls, they're winning state titles or they're right on the cusp of it. You look at gymnastics. They are probably the most dominant program with a Buford.
Yep.
You look at baseball, they've won back-to-back state titles. You saw basketball last year winning their first ever one. That was just such an impressive run. 4A was absolutely loaded, and they won. The way they won was so impressive because they did it through coaching, through playing hard, through playing well, and through pure talent. And then you look at the football team last year. So I think they've broken through. I think they are the premier program. And when you look at just the football numbers, who has the longest region win streaks right now? Who has the most consecutive undefeated regular seasons? There's two teams. It's Milton and North Oconee.
Wow, it's pretty impressive, as you said. And last year, we'll never forget that thriller against Eastside when they pulled it off, able to come away with a close victory against, obviously, the Eagles and pulling off that thrilling game. But, all right, guys, it is time for our fast break headline, so let's go ahead and get right into it. At the top spot, Richmond Hill linebacker Gabe Ballman officially committed to Berry College. He made the announcement yesterday. He finished the season with 97 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback hurries. It's one of the best seasons of his career, and now he will play locally here at Berry College. I got a chance to talk to him a few times, and was really impressed with him and his film. Underrated guy. Richmond Hill had a pretty good year. Didn't quite make the playoffs. It was in that crowded region with Lowndes, Valdosta, Colquitt County, Camden County, so didn't quite make the playoffs, but a really good team this year and had some pretty impressive wins.
They were the best team to not make the playoffs, no doubt about that. They got absolutely hosed in that department because they finished 7-3.
7-3, yep. 2-3 in the region.
Didn't make the playoffs in probably the toughest overall region, and they had big wins. They beat Valdosta.
Yep.
That was huge. And Gabe's got to be very proud. I mean, he was part of that senior class that put Richmond Hill on the map. It's a very fast-growing area. And then I kind of like it that he's staying in state. Yeah, Barry's all the way up in Rome. It's North Georgia. But to get the South Georgia guys staying in state, moving up North Georgia, I think it's just going to make that program better.
100%. All right, our next headline is Mill Creek wide receiver committing officially to Western Carolina. That's Trey Walker. He committed Tuesday to Western Carolina University football program. The senior led Mill Creek with 30 catches, 478 yards last season to go along with 3 touchdown catches. He also had a touchdown run and a kickoff return for a touchdown. So special shout out to him, being able to land Western Carolina. Great year for him as well, Craig.
Certainly is. And when you look at Mill Creek, the last few years. They have been the biggest school in the entire state. So a lot of these guys have had to wait their turn. They've been gaining that versatility to be able, when a position opens, to get their name in there, get the number in. He was versatile, led them in receiving, but also came up through that Mill Creek youth program. He is going to be ready. It's one of the best in the state, no doubt.
100%. All right, Craig, me and you can talk about this one together, but the final top 247 rankings for the 2025 class came out. We're going to go in more detail with this with obviously Max, with our Max coverage in segment 5, but a couple notable names here. Elijah Griffin, Savannah Christian, he finished top 3. At number 14 for 247, Isaiah Gibson for Warner Robins. Justice Terry of Manchester, obviously committed to Texas or signed to Texas. He finished 13. Elias Williams, Camden County, he finished 49. Zayden Walker, Schley County, going to Georgia, he finished 22. Julian Lewis of Carrollton finished 126 in the poll for 247 Sports. He's at Colorado. Josh Petty finished 29, going to Georgia Tech. Tay Harris, he finished 57, also going to Georgia Tech. Juan Gaston, Westlake, he finished 18. And then Kevin Wynn, Greene County, Florida State. C.J. Wiley, 139. Travis Smith Jr., Westlake, 148. And Lagonza Hayward, 170 in the poll.
Yeah, and I don't want to dispute these rankings too much. I think this is the first time I've ever seen, though, when you have multiple prominent recruiting outlets give guys completely different ratings. It's crazy. They're usually really close, but you look at some of these, you'll have someone in the top 50. Max was talking about this yesterday in the on 3, and then they're 140. Josh Petty's a good example. That's interesting, but also shows how competitive it's getting between the on 3s and 247. And then one I do have to dispute, C.J. Wiley. Why is he not in the top 50? He's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. We compared him to A.J. Green.
Yep.
I never saw him drop a pass in those last 2 years, making big plays. I don't know how he's not rated higher.
No, I don't know how either, Craig. And just real quick, I think to your point, I think you're seeing these platforms too, trying to get more outliers too. You know, like, hey, we think this guy should be rated. Maybe, hey, we don't think we're not as high on this guy. But to your point, I think it's competition based as well.
Yeah, that's a good thought, because there's an incentive to find that hidden gem, to put your reputation on a guy that you're confident is going to have more success at the next level, to maybe have him higher than the other ones. But obviously a lot of the guys at on 3 have come from 247, but it is interesting to look at, and obviously Max will have articles on it, and he'll be on to talk about it.
100%.
All right, let's go to headline number 4 real quick. North Cobb Christian, they're number 2 in the Class A through 3A private boys rankings. They held off Sonoraville on Tuesday for a 10th straight victory. Some interesting insight from this matchup. So ranked number 2 in Class 3A private, Coach Greg Mata said the team was fortunate, though, to keep the win streak alive. It was the closest game North Cobb Christian had experienced since a 1-point win over Hebron Christian on January 4th. These teams are in the same region, but they will go their separate ways in the playoffs, with Sonoraville in Class 2A and then North Cobb Christian into the private division. North Cobb Christian is 19-3 now and 13-0. They relied on fast break opportunities and offensive putbacks to take an early lead, but Sonoraville used 3-pointers to stay close, actually taking a 32-31 lead before North Cobb Christian scored 3 straight possessions to go up 37-32 at the half. Later, Sonoraville sparked a 10-0 run that brought it to 63-58 with a minute 20 left, and then Brock Bass Bonner was able to ice the game at the foul line, and he led North Cobb Christian with 17 points.
100%. What do you like about just North Cobb Christian real quick, Craig?
Well, in that game, the fact that Sonoraville, the only reason they were able to get back in it, they just heated up from 3-point range. That's an easy adjustment. So I think that, they've been on a big run. They put a lot of tough teams, but sometimes the other team's just going to heat up, and they're able to do what you need to get done, go to the foul line, and knock them down. And that was Brock Bass Bonner. All right. Headline number 5, Cedar Shoals basketball has only 2 boys with previous varsity experience. Pretty impressive story from the Athens Banner Herald about their program. This year, it is junior guards Devin Hubbard and Destin Foote are the sole veterans on Coach Thomas's roster. The pair of Jaguars were charged with becoming leaders pretty quickly this winter, jumping into the driver's seat after their older brothers Anthony and Dewan and most of the other starters graduated from the program last spring. They seem to have figured it out, though, sitting 3rd in the Class 4A Region 8 standings after a battle versus region leader and state-ranked North Oconee. They lost that game 71-57, but it's a good story to bring up because we'll talk about North Oconee, but Cedar Shoals has been battle-tested going up against one of the best.
And as we kind of close out this segment, Craig, just real quick thought, and I want to get your opinion on this. Just how hard is that to just go only have 2 players with experience and a really fresh roster kind of coming in that first year?
Yeah, I mean, varsity basketball is way different.
Yes.
I played competitively at East Marietta. I never played for varsity at Walton. It was a big difference. So, I mean, that's very impressive to only have the 2 guys, but also the other team coming out. If they can make a playoff run, that is certainly a great testament to just how they were able to overcome that challenge.
100%. Well, guys, it's going to conclude our first segment of the show, our fast break headlines, and a little bit of discussion of boys hoops. Again, we will have all the scores and everything, so make sure you go to scoreatl.com. We will have our scoreboard this weekend, recapping all of the scores across the Peach State. Coming up, we will talk and do a baseball preview, obviously with a media day today at Tucker, and we'll talk about the best teams. Craig does a really great job covering it here in the state with his baseball rankings and everything like that. So don't go anywhere. Come right back for segment 2, baseball preview.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this?
Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Remember that you guys can get this show on the Atlanta News First streaming app. You can also get it on CBS Sports local streaming app, Zeem, and via YouTube TV on the Peachtree Sports Network. So we're going to do a little bit of a baseball preview. We loaded some things up. But Craig, I just want to talk about the champions from last year. I mean, it's incredible. You have 4 state champions that have won back-to-back in baseball this year. Loganville, North Cobb Christian, Prince Avenue Christian, and then you got Lowndes.
Yep. Well, Prince Avenue Christian, that's an impressive one because it was their first ever state title. They defended that, so they're starting to build that dynasty. That's big for them, just becoming that premier private school team. And then you look right down the street for them in that Oconee County, Bogart area, you got North Oconee. They're playing very well. So now you got a private school that's able to develop right there. You got one of the best public schools in North Oconee that's invested in it. But then Lowndes, it's so impressive because 2 years ago, Parkview had this team that was just so dominant, nationally ranked top 5. And a lot of people thought that series was going to go their way. They knew Lowndes was good enough to compete, but they dominated that series. And then for them to repeat in back-to-back years, pretty impressive. They have become that premier South Georgia powerhouse. But being able to knock off Parkview in order to do it. That's huge. Parkview's been the best baseball program in the state. I think that's pretty well known just with their track record over the year. So for Lowndes to kind of take that banner and now be the program going for a three-peat this year, it's huge, and they are absolutely loaded. They've done it with the deep pitching, clutch base hitting, base running, and then great defense. We also saw some other teams last year, the Grayson baseball program. They were able to be more competitive with Parkview. Newton is on the rise. And then in the middle classification, a team that I thought had a really good run last year was Kell. They were impressive. You still have GAC and then Loganville always playing outstanding.
100%. Actually, guys, we got a poll for you as well. Did this one last night on Score Atlanta. So remember, guys, to engage with us on social media. We do these polls and break them on the show. So I said, tweet us, who do you think is the best baseball team in the state of Georgia? Baseball season is upon us. We will answer it on tomorrow's show. So Loganville, Appleton County, Lowndes, and I put other on there as well. And a lot of the votes, the lion's share got other. So Craig, what's just your thoughts on this? Like, out of these teams, who's the best, and what would be another team you would say?
Well, I like the way it was structured. Just you have the 4 options, 3 programs that have been winning. I think it's hard to argue. I mean, Lowndes, what they've been able to do, but there's other teams that through the last probably like 2 or 3 years have lost very few games. Harlem's one of them out of Augusta. I think they've probably lost 4 games the last 2 seasons. They, of course, won last year. So they're another one. But in terms of who do I think the best program is right now, you got to go with Lowndes.
Okay. All right, so high on Lowndes. Obviously, they're going to bring back about 7 stars. I think I've seen this upcoming year. Going to lose a little bit, some of their horses, but still going to be a very competitive team. Now, one thing I wanted to break down and talk with you about, Craig, is the private classification. I think that might be one of the most intriguing playoff runs this year when you look at North Cobb Christian, them winning it all, 2-time champ, and also Prince Avenue Christian is a 2-time champ. I think that's going to be very intriguing.
Yeah, and that's a great point with North Cobb Christian. In terms of red hot programs right now, or schools in general, they are crushing it across the board in all their sports, winning state titles, and I mean contending in basketball, the girls' sports. They have a chance to be dominant. It's just so tough though, because they are one of the newer ones trying to establish themselves. I feel like you've had the Westminsters, the Lovetts. A lot of St. Pius, Marist, but North Cobb Christian, they're a little smaller. They're in Cobb County, but they are hiring excellent coaches. And then on their football team, when you have a smaller private school like that, they have a lot of dual sport guys that are competing in multiple sports. So I think they take it in that approach. I mean, when it's baseball season at North Cobb Christian, it is baseball season. They're all in. Yeah,
100%, Craig. And classification, I want to go over what you obviously highlighted in my 5A blog was 5A. I mean, so many great teams. Obviously, talked about Loganville. One of my questions was who can maybe knock them off. You look at Houston County, a pretty good team. Usually here in the state of Georgia, you look at Habersham Central as another really good, deep athletic team. 5A is loaded, Craig. So, I mean, do you give anybody a chance to potentially knock off Loganville?
Well, 5A, that's going to be – is Etowah in 5A now? I think they are.
I think they are. I know Pope is in there as well. Pope, Lee County.
Yeah, Etowah won the 6A state title last year, so I think they'd be a top contender. Etowah was one of the teams last year. They had, I think, 2 of the best prospects in the entire state. I'm not sure if they replaced both of them, but Etowah's situated in such a great spot just in Cherokee County. They're going to play all the Cobb County teams in their region. They're going to be able to play the Woodstocks in those heated rivalry games, the Cherokees, and they're also going to challenge themselves with some of the Gwinnett schools. So I think Etowah's definitely been a top 10 program regardless of classification, but in Class 5A, now you have Gainesville, who the hiring of Cham Brown, which we've talked about, Parkview's old head coach, that is a very big deal. We've seen Gainesville knock some hires out of the park, bringing in big names like Josh Niblett for football. Now you bring in Cham Brown, the most accomplished baseball coach in the state. He's obviously going to takeover program that has been very competitive, just trying to get them to a championship in Class 5A. I think he'll have a chance to make a big run this year.
For sure. And then obviously let's visit 4A, looking at Stars Mill and Norfolk Oconee. I know you're high obviously on Norfolk Oconee, but it looks like they could be on a collision course. Two really good teams here in the state of Georgia. Stars Mill has won championships. Norfolk Oconee's right on that breaking point. What's your thoughts about them potentially meeting down the line?
Well, with North Oconee, in pretty much all the sports, I think they're in a pretty competitive overall region, but they've dominated it. So normally you'd have like the Madison counties. That's probably been the best runner-up. But in the last few seasons, there has been East Forsyth coming to the scene, Seconder coming to the scene, and then Cherokee Bluff used to be in the same region as North Oconee when they were first making those runs to the state title. So I think it's going to be a newly formed region for them this year, but 4A got way more challenging, bringing in teams like Kell from 5A. They're going to have Blessed Trinity in there now.
Yeah,
so it is going to be very tough.
Yeah, and obviously you talk about BT being elite on a lot of levels, and they ended up playing, I believe it was 5A last year. So Blessed Trinity, like you said, I think that's probably an outside team that could, if they get hot, it could be dangerous.
Yeah, so I think with Class 4A, it reminds me of like the lacrosse classifications where there's not 7 of them, but there's that one in the middle where it's just absolutely loaded.
Yes.
And that's what they're going to have to deal with in that new Class 4A. There's so many teams in there that you can never count out. Cartersville, Cedartown's been excellent in baseball. And then in that same area, you got Troop, was very young last year. Coach Glisson does a great job with that program. And then in that region with Appling County, Pike County, big-time rivalries right there.
And then, Craig, I want to ask you just who would be a surprise team that the folks at home that are watching, they should watch out for next year? Doesn't matter classification, just in general.
I think Marietta was surprising last year to me, one of the teams out of Cobb that you don't usually hear about. I think they have a chance to be top 10 this year.
Really?
Yeah.
And what gives you confidence?
Well, I think what I saw last year with them being able to establish themselves ahead of North Cobb, which is also a quarterfinal team, a team that can make a run. I think last year, great batting. If they can just find that second rotation. Oh, yeah, I can't believe I didn't even mention Buford either. But the thing that's so, God, and you got all the Forsyth County teams.
Yeah.
But the thing that's so difficult to judge with baseball is like once you get in the playoffs, you have these 3-game series. It's completely different. And then a lot of them in the region, they'll play the same team 3 times, but they don't go back to back to back. But in the playoffs, you have to. So it's all about winning that first game, having that deep pitching rotation, and then having your ace.
100%. Well, guys, that's going to conclude our baseball preview. Hope you enjoyed that. Obviously, Craig is our baseball expert here at Score Atlanta. Coming up, we will talk to North Oconee's head coach Rick Rasmussen about the Titans and their quest for another state championship. Good. Hey, Coach Rick, can you hear us?
Background. Bring your chair with you. Right there. Background better.
Hey, Coach Rick, can you hear us?
Now. 2 minutes. Let me know if you have sound. So you're recruited right now. That's his work. You just have to go on. Maybe hang around in case you have a You guys hear us? Can you hear us?
Hey, Coach Rick, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep, perfect. All right, well, so we got about a minute 30, and then we'll be on and bring you on.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Najee Wilkins along with Craig Sager. So we got a great interview for you guys right now. Also, Max is going to have the official story on this for his Class 4A blog. But without further ado, let's bring on Norfolk Oconee's great coach, Rick Rasmussen.
How y'all doing? It's great to see you guys. Thanks for having us on. Down here with our star player, Justin Wise.
Yes, sir. How's everything, Coach Rick? I don't know if you remember me. I had you on last year on my podcast and got a chance to talk to you. How's everything?
Yeah, it's great to see both of you guys. I think we've talked to both of you guys before, and it's great to be back. We're excited, and especially coming back as defending state champs.
Yes, sir, certainly. And obviously, we know how good Justin is. We'll ask him some questions a little bit later. But, Coach, I want to start with you. So, what was your process like this upcoming offseason when you got prepared for the fall training and things like that? What was the process like after winning that state championship to get these guys ready to go again?
Yeah, I wouldn't say business as usual, but just, doing exactly what you said and sticking to the process. So, we feel like in order to have a chance to win a championship, you've got to have championship habits first and a championship culture. So our process has been, just reloading basically and finding the new pieces that were going to be utmost importance and putting a new team together. And this guy right next to me was one of our key, players returning. And so he's been a great leader for us as a freshman last year. He was around 5 seniors and three senior starters, and then he and our other returning starter, Kamari Brooks, really had to bear the load of the leadership this year, and they've done that. And we're excited to have our whole team back with after our football team winning the state championship was awesome. Both of us in 2024, and getting everybody to come out and be together now at full strength. It's really exciting.
And, Coach, I want to ask you a little about a trip that you had. You ended up playing Bartow and Dortmund. I'm not sure if you remember, but that was kind of an out-of-state schedule. Obviously, I know it's very important when you want to kind of see where your team is at, test them early on. What did you learn about your team after that trip?
Yeah, well, we played at Norcross, but you're right. We played the Florida Bartow team, which is a ranked team in Florida, and then Dortmund, one of the best programs in South Carolina. And we played great in those 2 games. So we really stepped up. These guys like to play against great competition, and we've played, at 20-2 now, we've played 9 ranked teams this year. And our strength of schedule is right up there with the rest of our class. And our great schedule has prepared us for our region and hopefully for another D playoff run. But, yeah, we scheduled hard, and we really played well in those games. We were at full strength, and we shot the ball well, and we played good defense. And really exciting to play good competition in a big event.
Yes, sir. And then, Coach Rick, I do want to ask you about Justin, who's right next to you. Obviously, talked about him being a leader this year. And I remember you raving about him as a true freshman last year. But for you, where have you seen his game maybe take the next step, whether that's on the field or on the court, off the court, on the hardwood? Where have you seen his game progress where he is now compared to where he was as a freshman?
Yeah, well, one of the things we really hang our hat on is player development and growth and maturity. And Justin is where I would say he should be. He's a year better and more of experience. Being an MVP of a state championship game as a freshman is probably a dream come true. So we expected him to have to step up and grow, especially with the players that we lost. And he's done that. And he's a basketball-only player, so he's been with us from the entire summer and fall. And he's been our leader. And he's matured, and he's become more versatile offensively. Last year, in the state championship game, he had a hot spurt in the third quarter from three, but he's much more than a three-point shooter. I think prospect-wise, he's a combo guard. He can bring the ball up the floor, and he's a great defender. And he's long, and he gets active hands in the passing lanes, and he shares the ball. He's unselfish, and he can score at all three levels. He gets the free throw line. He can score from 2-point, and he can hit the three. So, and he's maturing, and so he's just much more mature and more experienced, and the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, and I actually want to ask Justin a question also. So, I mean, some of the seniors you guys lost, the 5 from last year, you got Bird Carter, Evan Montgomery. You had that big game in the championship, but now you're a sophomore and you've been named a team captain already for this year, the defending state champs, ranked high in Class 4A. How much of an honor is it for you to be a captain of this year's team?
It's a big honor because, we know we're a good team and that hopefully we have another good run, and to know that I'm one of the top guys and that coach trusts me a lot, and it just feels good, and that gives me a lot of confidence in myself.
And then we mentioned the football team and you guys not being full strength until later on. That's not necessarily uncommon, especially at a place like North Oconee. So many two-sport athletes. But what was it like just early in the season when you guys were still trying to figure out what this team was going to look like this year?
Yeah, go ahead, Justin. What did it feel like knowing you had to step up?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I knew since we were missing Kamari, one of our other big guys and big key players on offense and defense, that I'd have to step up vocally and be more of a leader and take his role also until he got back. And also some of the guys who are newer had to step up a lot more too, because we didn't have any returners other than me and Luke. So we had a bunch of new guys who had to step up and figure out their role really fast.
And then, Coach, I know you guys are hoping to make a trip to Macon regardless, but you've had players in the slam dunk contest the last few years. I know maybe the three-point also. Any chance we'll get to see some of your guys out there in the skills competitions?
I'm not sure about that. I think this team is kind of locked in on winning a region championship and trying to get back to the state title. So I think we're probably not. I asked the guys, and nobody responded, so I'm not going to force him to do it, but this guy right next to me could probably compete for the three-point contest, but I think he'd rather win a state championship.
Yeah,
so
he's got multiple years to figure it out. He can always do it next year. We were talking earlier in our fast break headlines about some of the teams in your region, Cedar Shoals, a young team, but they've been very solid this year. What else have you noticed maybe in your region in Class 4A this year?
Yeah, well, if you're talking 4A, we've been in the top 3 or 4 all season long, and people have to understand that half the teams from last year's 5A have dropped down to 4A. So it's a tougher road this year to the state championships in the Final Four. Kell has won back-to-back 5A state titles. Now they're in 4A. Pace Academy's won multiple state titles, and they're in 4A with us. And they're ranked number 1. We're number 2 in most polls, and Kell's number 3. So if we all win our region tournaments, we could all see each other in the Final Four, and there's a lot of other great teams, some of which we've already played. Our region is, we're in the lead right now, and we've clinched the 1 seed in the region tournament, but there's a dogfight for second place, and a lot of really good teams have a chance to be in that second spot, and I know we'll see them in the the Final Four of the region tournament, February 13th and 15th. So we don't take anything for granted. We stay focused at the task at hand. And the second time you play somebody, which is what we're finishing up now in the region, and then the third time in the region tournament is the most important time. So we don't rest on our laurels. That's one of the things we constantly preach. And we're keeping it one game at a time. And we know that if we can win a back-to-back region title, that can help us to propel us in the state tournament. So we're really focused on that right now, and it's not going to be easy.
100%. Well, Coach, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming on and bringing on Justin Wise as well. It's super fun to talk to you guys. Definitely got to bring you guys back on for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just get a shout out to our some of our key players, Justin and Kamari, and Banks Portier is one of our forwards. He recently got an offer from Chattanooga, and Blake Bracco, our point guard, and our lone senior returning guy, Thrasher Wilkins, who's a great prospect. So we're proud of them. And Justin mentioned Luke Lawson, who's our sixth man, comes off the bench. We've got a really great group and a lot of other guys that are capable. And we really love our team, and we're just thankful for the way they work hard. We're thankful to be at North Oconee. Really thankful for our administration, and Oconee County is just super supportive. So we, it's an honor to be on the show. Thanks for having us represent North Oconee.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. Fun to watch, and we'll see you guys soon enough. All right, guys. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. There goes Coach Rasmussen. Coming up, we'll talk the latest with the coaching carousel right here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. It's time to talk about the latest in the coaching carousel right here on the Peachtree Sports Network. So, Craig, a lot of changes. I'm going to go ahead and start with one that we're going to have him as a guest tomorrow. So make sure you come back same time, same place tomorrow, 12 to 1 p.m. We're going to have on Coach Dyer, Andy Dyer. He's obviously the new coach at Elbert County. And I think a really good hire for them when you break down everything, what they're trying to do, right? What he's done over the course of his career, being in the state final, playing Coker County a few years back in 2014. 4 region championships. Like, this is a phenomenal coach. I think it'll be interesting to see, him with Elbert County.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere Coach Dyer's been, they've had outstanding success. And so he was at Mill Creek when Coach Jarvis was building that program, brand new school. Then Archer opens its doors. Coach Dyer's the first coach at Archer, leads them to the finals. Similar to some of the other, actually similar to Mill Creek, where we saw them knocking on the door, making the playoffs for the first time, making the quarters the first time, semifinals. He just happened to come one game short at Archer, but still leading them to the finals and the playoffs year in and year out. Goes to Elbert County with Coach Jarvis again. They're reunited. Coach Jarvis He left. He opened up that spot. And now Coach Dyer's back as a head coach. So I don't know if we'll talk to him tomorrow, but I don't know if he stepped away from Archer and wanted to just be a coordinator. But regardless of where he's been, head coach, assistant coach, he has been part of a coaching staff that has been able to build programs, taking them to the next level. And then Elbert County has tremendous talent already. And last year, they were very close to winning that region. I think they fell short to Athens Academy, who ended up going over to the private. So I think they really have a big chance in Class A Division I next year.
100%. And another really surprising one was Hiram. Their head coach stepped down, Peter Fomanaya, right? Ended up winning, I believe, a region championship 2009. Haven't made it quite past the second round of the playoffs yet, but still a really good program we have here in Georgia.
Yeah, that was arguably one of the toughest regions in the state, and a perfect example of that is the fact that Calhoun didn't make the playoffs out of it 2 years ago, and then they just won the state title last year. Hiram was a team that was able to play with Cartersville, play with Cass, beat Calhoun, and they had an outstanding offense. They also had, over the last 2 years, more college prospects coming from that program than ever before, so there's a lot of talent in that area, and I think him leaving, he's obviously did a great job, but it opens it up. That's a great place to coach and play.
And then what are some other ones that stand out to you, Craig?
Well, I like the South Forsyth hiring Coach Thompson. He's been at Tucker. He's been in some other schools, went to Florida for a little bit. So that's another coach that went to Florida as a head coach, saw a job opening up, and he's going to take it at South Forsyth. South Forsyth used to be, for a couple years, probably the premier program out of Forsyth County. Now, who do you give it to? Is it Lambert? Is it West Forsyth? Forsyth Central's playing better. You got Denmark playing great, but I feel like South Forsyth slid off just a little bit last year. But part of their decline the last few years is because all these new schools opened up. When Denmark opened up, South Forsyth lost a lot of their students to Denmark and coaches. So I think that's kind of a natural thing that happens when a new school opens right next to you, but I feel like they'll be right back at it.
A surprising one I want to get your take on too, Craig, is obviously Pebblebrook, formerly head coach Michael Woodridge was obviously at South Atlanta. We've seen the teams they had him featured in the Great Atlanta Bash a few years ago. Kewan Brown, AJC Super 11 player, right? Obviously was formerly of Louisville, but after a really good season, 6-5, they make the playoffs. He's gone. A top player for them just transferred out as well. He's at Douglas County now. KJ Green, who won all classification defensive player for us this year. What's just your thoughts on that? And where does Pebblebrook go from here?
Yeah, it's tough. They've had a lot of head coaches in the last probably decade. They've actually had some great seasons. I think they even made the quarterfinals a few years. They've had your 7-3 regular seasons, even 8-2. Last year, I know they dealt with some injuries, but when we had Coach Woolridge on the show, he was only there for 2 years, but there were big things happening in terms of the facilities. Cobb County is one of those counties that wants to share the resources. They want all their programs to have the turf fields, have the field house. So I think it's still an attractive place to play. They just need to get a coach that maybe is going to have that 4-year vision and really just have like an identity offensively. They had so much speed last season with the receiving corps, probably one of the fastest skill positions in anywhere in Class 6A. But if you have that, you got to have a quarterback. If you want to have that style offense, you got to be mobile in certain areas. You got to be balanced. So I feel like they have the talent. They just haven't been able to put it together. All
right, let's go to a lower classification, Craig. I really want to get your thoughts on this. Darren Alford no longer there at Schley County. We know how good Schley County has been over the past few years. They made a state championship not too long ago, won region championships. What's your thoughts on that opening?
That is, to me, I honestly feel really bad for Schley County because they came so close to winning state titles the last probably like 3 seasons, and it was not easy when you look at that Class A Division II. You have Manchester, you have Bowden, what they've been able to do. Schley County is, I believe it's the smallest school in the entire state in terms of enrollment.
Wow.
And they went out there and were extremely competitive. It was a big honor just to be able to get to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, get to the finals, and just bring a spotlight to the program. But, I mean, Coach Alford did such a phenomenal job there. But what I also like about Sly County, they were part of the trend that we've seen in the last 3 years where some of the best prospects in the entire state were coming from that smaller classification. And when that happens, you're able to see them play in a lot of roles. If it's a defensive lineman, sometimes you get to see them offensive line, defensive line. If it's a guy at tight end, you get to see him play defensive end too. So that's what's been so exciting about some of the great talent. And he's been able to develop them at Sly County. Had an incredible run. I know they won that historic state title, but he did a great job.
All right, Craig. Now it's time. Let's have some fun with it. A couple minutes left in this segment. Bold take. All right. Which coach out of everybody that's been hired you think can have the most instant impact in year one?
Well, I think the biggest turnaround, Todd Holcomb on his newsletter always does the most improved. I think it's going to be Dalton with Coach Pruitt. I think the defense, the offense will be much better. I think he's going to have an immediate impact. And then let's see. Gosh, that's tough. I'm going to have to look at these real quick.
Facts.
Let's go with Etowah and Coach Bobber going back to his neighborhood. He did such a great job at Sprayberry. I think he'll have a big impact.
I'm going to go bold take. I'm going to go down to Middle Georgia. I think you know where I'm going, Craig. I'm going with Coach Boone of Northside Warner Robins. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship, right? But I think most improved, you look at their roster, look at their team, I think that's going to be a team you see that's over 500, and they're going to be in that conversation to make a postseason next year. Reason I say that, you look at the region, Houston County, still got a great coach, Coach Jeremy Edwards, probably won't have the same team. You look at Lee County, no more Weston Bryant, no more Usman Akroma, just lost their offensive coordinator. I think it's going to be a little bit of a toss-up down there in Middle Georgia, and I think Coach Boone's going to do enough in order to make a postseason next year.
What's interesting, we've had coaches on where, I mean, sometimes you're dealing with a county, it's like, we're going to have our meet and greet next week.
Yep.
Coach Boone, he went down there immediately, started rocking it. He is already ready to go. So he really hit the ground running.
Yes, he did. All right, guys, coming up, we'll have Max coverage, talking the latest with Max Waborski about what he's been working on, what he's seeing, and what he's hearing around the Peach State. Don't go anywhere. Come right back on the Peachtree Sports Network. About today on the show. So, Max, I'm going to let you open us up and lead us. I know you want to ask some great questions. Obviously, that 247 list came out. On3 is actually coming out with their final On3 300 on their platform as well. But I'm going to throw it to you. I know you want to ask us some stuff.
Yeah, so we all know Georgia's a hotbed for recruiting. And in their first year, we've seen some guys from Georgia especially make an impact in their first year. And this year, there's a ton of guys that I feel like can, I don't know, make some waves early on in their career in college. So I'm going to ask, you guys usually ask the questions on this show.
Facts.
But I'm going to ask you guys, who do you think will have the biggest instant impact in their freshman season?
Well, I think you got to go with Oconee Chroma. And the fact that he flipped the way he did, I think that that was more than a financial thing. I think that was a promise to play early, a vision for his role. He's so versatile. He's a complete generational running back, one of the best to ever come through it. I just feel like him flipping proved that they really want him there. They obviously made promises to him. I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick, Craig. Obviously, Oconee Chroma is, Mr. Georgia for a reason, right? What he was able to accomplish this past year. And like you said, I think that playing time, him and Cam Davis in that backfield for Florida State next year, look out. Good luck. Mine, I know I covered them, but mine is going to probably have to go Tay Harris. And the reason I say that is, guys, he's already at practice. Got a text yesterday. Sends me a text, miles per hour. I want y'all to guess what his miles per hour was. Fast is obviously in the category. I just want y'all to guess what the number was.
29.98.
Nah, not that fast.
I was about to say, like 21, 22?
He's at 22.07, already higher than guys that
That's
have already
faster
been
than
there.
what I said. I said 21.98.
Oh, I thought you said 29.
No,
oh, you said 21.
I thought it was 29 too.
So yeah.
Yeah, so 22.07. So I just say that he just got on campus. So that says a lot, and that's kind of that position for Georgia Tech where you look at they could have the most kind of improvement. Now, it was good last year. You know what I'm saying? Defensive line is kind of the biggest question mark. But when you look at that back end with all the time they brought in with the portal, and you look at Dalen Pinson, who I think is another really good player, but I think Tay Harris is going to be that guy. Wherever he lines up at, he's going to see the field. I got one more player for y'all, Lagonza Hayward of Florida. I got a chance to talk to him. He's a star in his own right. He's hungry. He wants to win. So Gator Country, y'all should be excited for him. And what's interesting, he said, I don't care where I play. Like, wherever the coach needs me. And what you see now, he's a dude. What you see now, though, in college football is guys being able to do multiple things well. When you look at the Jay Barons, when you look at the Andrew Makubas, not just playing free or strong, right? They're playing also boundary corner.
Being as versatile as they
nickel.
can.
You have to be. Look at Caleb Downs, right? Came through Georgia. Look at what he's doing. A little bit of everything. I think Lagonza is going to be that player we see have that kind of impact.
Well, that's interesting. I actually have a question for both of you on that. So last year you mentioned the instant impact. I felt like Sammy Brown is the benchmark now as a freshman, making the All-ACC. But both these guys that we've mentioned are more versatile, so they really have to find a fit. Where with Sammy, we knew where he was going to play. But do you feel like these names we mentioned can have that Sammy Brown freshman season?
Absolutely, and you mentioned Oconee Chroma. I mean, going into that new offense with Gus Malzahn at Florida State, I feel like it's like exactly what you said. It was a promise to him. It was more than a financial commitment that he will play and that he will be an important part of that offense. And it would just be crazy to see how Gus Malzahn schemes him up, and you know how crazy he is with his offense. But get him out in the passing lanes, get him out. I mean, he had 2,100 yards last year at Lee County. I think he had over 700 through the air.
Yep.
And so he's more than just a running back. And I think he could be very versatile and very good instant impact in his first year.
Facts. My final thought, another player I wanted to try to keep an eye on, C.J. Wiley. I know they're deep. I know they got Zachariah Branch coming in the portal, right? I know they got Noah Thomas, right? I know they're going to bring some guys back. But the area that people are going to talk about, the red zone. Where did Georgia kind of struggle last year? It was in the red zone. You got a guy that is 6'3", 6'4", close to.
Yeah.
Just throw it up to him. He's going to get it. You can't replicate that. So at worst, he can at least be that.
And that was my next question for you guys. Out of those, there's a long list of Georgia players on that list. Do we think C.J. Wiley can really sneak into that receiving room and really be a guy for them next year? I believe so.
I think he can. I mean, I know you got Taylor, like you said. I know they have another really good receiver coming, Landon Roldan. I think C.J. could be in there and find some playing time.
He's such an interesting prospect to me because I can't find a weakness that he has, but also it's like he's not going to be the fastest receiver in the country, but I don't see him drop any passes. He makes it look so easy, and once he gets that timing down with his quarterback, I mean, he's so reliable on getting to the right spot, getting open, And then those 50-50 balls, I mean, you said it, he is just unstoppable at that.
100%. All right, Max, now it's time for us to ask you questions. So what is the latest that you're hearing? What are you working on? And what you have coming up for the rest of the week?
So this week, I had my D1 story that just went out, my D1 blog that was about Andy Dyer heading to Elbert County. Story head coach going to another story program, and we'll just see how he plays out there. Long career archer. And then after that, I have a Class 4A blog on the North Oconee boys basketball team. After coach just came on with Justin Wise, they've been very good this season. Haven't skipped a beat since their state championship last year.
You seen highlights from that game last year?
I've not yet.
Yeah, you definitely got to check it out. Them going up against Holly Ansis and Caleb Wilson, and as a freshman coming out on top. Real quick, as we conclude this segment, what was your thoughts on just that interview and just being able to see Coach Rasmussen and Justin Wise be able to talk to them?
I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any secret to their success. I mean, it seems like Coach is very open with communication, very open with his players, and wants the best for them. And I just feel like once you have that trust with your coach, I mean, I feel like the play on the court will replicate that.
I think it's interesting just talking about his game developing into a combo guard, because last year he went out there in the championship game, wholly innocent, had him on the ropes kind of at the end of the first half. He opened that third quarter, knocking down those threes, and his team fed off that energy and really ran away with it. It was such an impressive game, probably the best championship game last year. But when a freshman gets going like he did, you could see it got the team going.
And then real quick, Max, how about maybe a potential nice Final Four, as he mentioned, Pace Academy, Cale, and North Oconee in there? That'd be pretty epic.
Need to see it.
Yeah.
Need to see it happen.
100%. Well, guys, that's going to conclude it for today's show. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember, you can watch on all those platforms I outlined earlier. We'll be right back here on the Peachtree Sports Network. Same time, same place, 12 to 1 tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information.